Hi, I'm Jane from TryTime, and I am joined today by Dr Vanessa Moulton, chartered psychologist with the most impressive CV. She has worked as the head of psychological services for Help for Heroes, working with Walking with the Wounded on the South Pole Challenge, and she was the mental health consultant for the Invictus Games. She has got so much information to share. So, Vanessa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me to have a chat with you about things.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. I mean, because obviously for us, TryTime Kids Rugby, we're passionate about being active, but we're also passionate about getting children outside and the families outside, all weather, all year round. So could you tell us a little bit more around, what advice you have for our children and our families around how we can all be psychologically fit?
So, I mean, I think for me, the first thing I almost want to start with is to kind of reiterate this notion around what psychological fitness is. At the end of the day, I'm a psychologist. I do lots of different things, but part of what I do alongside treating those who are struggling with mental ill health is to try and educate people that actually paying attention to your psychological health should be part and parcel of every single day. I know, given the fact that both my little boys come to TryTime, I know the positive impact that has in terms of their mood, even at this stage for them.
So tell us some of the things that we can do on a daily basis then.
The first one is this very notion of just getting outdoors. There's so much evidence now around the impact that being outside, and especially being within nature, has on the very basic kind of hormones and chemicals that we produce in our body, and that impact our mind. So for example, in Scotland, there are some areas where instead of prescribing antidepressants, they prescribe nature, because it has been shown now that being outdoors and being within nature is potentially just as effective as antidepressants. It's not just a nice thing to do. We know that when we are outdoors, two of the key hormones that make us feel stressed when that threat system is online, it helps dampen those down a bit. So what it does, it can help reduce stress, it can increase our mood. So the direct impact on our mood, and as well as things like anxiety, is huge. So just ensuring that we can get outdoors, as I say, preferably looking at nature, just has an absolute direct impact on our psychological health. If we're outdoors, it tends to probably mean we're moving and we're doing stuff. And what we know as well is that moving and being active is absolutely brilliant for our stress system, for our fight or flight system, and bringing our system back to a state of calm. So just a little bit of science here to kind of give that some backing. Our fight or flight system, or as I call it, the threat system, that comes online when our brain identifies a threat. Now, that can be, oh my goodness, I haven't got my to-do list completed, or the kids going, oh my goodness, I've still got homework to do. All these things elevate and bring on the threat system. Now, when the threat system's online, we have two key hormones that are produced, which is adrenaline and cortisol. And these pump around our body, and they're very useful when we are in a genuine physical fight or flight situation, and we need that. But because our brain still identifies, or now has learned to identify something like, oh my God, I haven't got this done as a threat. We have these hormones pumping around our body, but we've got nothing to do with them because we're sitting still. And those will stay in our body much longer if we are static and if we are still. So what we know is that when we are moving around, those two key chemicals that leave us feeling stressed and anxious will metabolize, they break down much quicker when we're moving. One of the best and quickest things you can do is to move. Bend, stretch, get your body moving in any way. I recommend star jumps, going up and down the stairs, having a few stair races, whatever. But a 10-minute walk, I map in 10-minute walks into my day. What we know is that if that threat system is online, we find it much harder to concentrate. We find it much harder to kind of problem solve, because actually our body is just focusing on, you know, how to respond to this threat that our brain has come up with. Like, I've got my empty cup of coffee here, but we all kind of start the day with a certain amount of our hormones. Imagine you've got little stresses that just keep building up and building up. Now, if you filled your cup up to there, it could take one small thing for then the whole thing to overflow. And that's what happens when we don't give ourselves the opportunity to kind of siphon out the stuff that we've put into our stress cup. It's about trying to empty that cup as much as possible. The notion of physical touch is so important to our psychological health. You know, it's our skin is the biggest living organ that we have, basically, and it's our biggest, you know, it's one of our most important sensory items, and our brain is constantly feeding off stuff like that. And what we know, any form of kind of physical touch, that's when the happy hormones, the calming, relaxing hormones, which are endorphins and serotonin, all these lovely happy hormones, get stimulated. So alongside our threat system, we also have the emotional system, which is our soothing system. Any kind of activity that involves you, especially as a family, you know, getting together, I don't know, playing sardines, whatever it is that you want to do, but, you know, or being outside and playing games that does involve, you know, human touch between you, really, really helpful for anyone who's, you know, for anyone or anyone's kids who, you know, are struggling emotionally. Just keep that kind of physical connection up, and, you know, and that's what part of an aspect that Try Time does provide. You know, I'm a very science-driven psychologist. What it is doing is literally stimulating the happy hormones in the body by the physical touch.
If we wanted to try and engage a little bit more with you and what you're doing, what are you working on at the moment?
I'm running what I'm calling the psychological fitness series at the moment, which is, it's a 1 hour immersion session, and then it's followed up with 10 5-minute videos, and then a lovely great big pack of tools and strategies that people can use just to help people have a sense of kind of like ownership and autonomy over driving their own psychological health. And, you know, start paying attention to your psychological health just as you do your physical health. You know, we're all going to such extremes to protect ourselves physically. We have to protect ourselves psychologically as well. Doesn't take a lot. You know, I'm not talking about having to have therapy. It's what we just all should be doing on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing some just really fascinating insights. And we've got lots of games, lots of activities and things that you can do outdoors on our website, on our Try Time Kids Rugby website, if you want to take what Vanessa's advice and find some things to do. So please do head to our website. But Vanessa, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thank you.